Shabbat Shalom. Good morning. Good evening, depending on where you are. Good morning on the East Coast of the United States and most of the places in the United States this morning. Good evening on the other side of the earth in the Far East. Good evening to you. And it's the next day, I think, in the Southern Hemisphere. So it's the next day for you. But right here in the Washington, D.C. area, it's about 11:16 on Sabbath morning. Good morning and greetings to the 12 tribes of the scattered nation of Jacob's children that are scattered into the four corners of the earth, scattered according to Bible prophecy by slavery and oppression because of disobedience, and are now awakening and turning back to their God, Yahweh, and awakening and preparing for the return of the Hebrew tribe of Judah, Lion of the tribe of Judah, Messiah, Yahweh Shai, preparing for his return that is soon to come, and the kingdom that he is soon going to establish in his Father's name. Greetings. Greetings also to those that are grafted into the kingdom through the Hebrew Messiah, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, Yahweh Shai. Greetings to you and welcome. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field, trying to save lives. Blessings upon those that clean up and pick up garbage for us to keep our places clean. Blessings upon those that are making deliveries for us for our convenience. Double blessings on those trying to deliver, boys and girls, babies, men and women, teenagers, children, from sex slave, human trafficking, child pornography, pedophilia, child molestation, which is going on, quiet as kept, in millions of households in the United States and also around the world. Curses, double curses on those that practice these things and support these types of industries. Finally, blessings upon those trying to help the homeless. 500,000, no, 600,000 men, women, children, families without a roof over their head in the United States alone, not including places all over the world in the millions. Blessings upon those that are trying to help the situation and on the people themselves, for theirs is the kingdom. Today, well, put it this way. The thing about the Bible, there are many wonderful things about the word of the Most High. But the word that is associated with the Most High himself in the word is righteousness and truth most of the time. And also, greetings upon those in the chat. Greetings to all the people in the chat. Blessings upon you all as well. Righteousness and truth are the character traits most associated with the Father in heaven. People like to say love, but love is a subset of righteousness and truth. Okay, it really is. And grace is in that subset, and mercy and all of that. But righteousness and truth are the foundation of the Father's throne. Now, the thing about truth, we talk about this all the time. The thing about truth in a world that's based in lies, the world that we live in is founded, its foundation is lies. The Father's foundation is truth. The earth's foundation, as far as the human beings that inhabit it and rule it, is lies. Okay? And so when you're in an earth filled with lies, truth is not popular. In fact, as many of us know, as all of us that experience truth will understand when I say truth can hurt. Truth can be painful. It can be painful because we're used to lies. And truth can wake us up. The Bible says you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free from sin. Okay? Today, well, the Bible speaks truth. And sometimes it's painful. But if we're going to be people of the book, people of the Most High's righteousness and truth, we have to accept the truth. And in fact, especially in the United States of America, and I can't speak because I don't live in Europe, and I don't live in places like the Philippines or Asia or Australia. I don't live in those places. but I was born and raised in the United States. So I can speak on the United States. In the United States, people don't like truth, especially when it affects them. They don't mind spraying it on somebody else if it's no effect to them. People spray it on each other and say, "Oh, you don't like truth," and they'll hurt each other with it. But nobody likes to receive it themselves. In the United States of America, we live in a fantasy, a bubble created by the combination of all the beast powers of Babylon, the political system, the religious system particularly, and of course, the media and the spiritual system. It's a bubble. And what's hidden is the truth. I just mentioned to you, for example, that there are literally millions of households in the United States, millions of houses, where in that house, some daddy or some uncle or some brother is molesting their little sister or their little daughter or their little niece. There's millions of households like that. Not one or two. Okay? That's going on in the United States. Yet you would not know that if I just said it. And because I just said it, there's going to be people that's mad at me. But yet I just told you the truth. There are people walking around that you see every day that's been victims of child molestation. And they can't tell nobody. A lot of people that are LGBTQ or whatever letter you have, there's a large percentage of them that have been victims of child molestation. A large percentage. I would say, and I dare anybody to counter what I'm about to say, if you take the amount of people that are LGBTQ people, and you take a number of them, and then you take the rest of the people of the United States, okay, just the United States, you would see a much larger percentage of victims of child molestation in the group that are in the LGBT community than people that are not, percentage-wise. Okay, so in other words, if I was to say 2% of the population of the United States is victims of child molestation, then, you know, if you have a group that you separate out of LGBT, I bet you that number goes up from 2%. It's higher. I could tell you that. It's higher. Okay. And so the Bible brings us truth, whether we like it or not. And the more truth we accept, the closer to the Most High we become. Okay. Most people don't want. You go into these churches and you start speaking truth to these Christian churches, they will kick you out. They will kick you out. And I'm talking from experience. And I'm talking about just Bible truth. I'm not even talking about other books. Matter of fact, if you speak against other books and just stick with the Bible, they'll get angry at you. Like, look at the Mormons or the SDAs or the Jehovah's Witnesses. You say, get rid of all these books and just stick with them, man, they're going to have a problem with you. They're going to have a problem with you. Okay? So truth is not popular. In fact, it's mostly hated. But as Israelite people, we who are Hebrew Israelites, either by blood or grafted into the scattered nation, we have a commonality in that we must love the truth. We must love the truth because our Father in heaven is a God of righteousness and truth. Okay? And he's the only true God. And his son, Messiah Yahushua, is his expression to us of truth. Okay? Along with his written word. Yahushua is simply the word made flesh. So today we're going to speak on some very hard truths. We're going to talk about cannibalism. Cannibalism. What is cannibalism? Generally, cannibalism is a human or animal species that eats its own species. That's cannibalism. An animal species that will eat its own species. We normally associate it with human beings eating other human beings. Cannibalism. Okay? It started, as far as history knows, in the Germanic tribes of Europe. Started in the Germanic tribes of Europe. They were doing some things in Europe that caused, some issues. One of the things was they were cannibals. As a matter of fact, right now, as I'm speaking to you in 2021, cannibalism is legal in Germany. Cannibalism, let me say it again, is legal in Germany. There are approximately, according to the research I did, 800 known cannibals in Germany. 800 known cannibals. Okay. Now, we know from what the Bible told us, the Gentiles are the ones that are non-Israelites. Now, Gentiles, we talked about this the other night, Gentiles are associated, two areas of Gentiles in the Bible. There are Gentiles that are, the Bible says, ethos, that are non-Israelite by blood and are not interested in the Israelite God. That's Gentile. Then there are Gentiles that are, we talked about in the Greek, Hellenists, right? Hellenists, which are Gentiles by blood, but want to be worshipers of the Israelite God, Yahweh. Okay? But the Gentiles that are not worshipers of Yahweh, the ethos, the heathen, this was their practice, not just with Germans either. It was with Hamites as well. One of the gods whereby the people practice eating children and sacrificing, especially male children, is the Moloch. They practice doing that. Okay? And so we know that the Most High continually in his word admonishes his people to not worship other gods. That's a continuation throughout the whole Old Testament, especially it's very heavy in the books of Moses, but it's also in all the prophets. Do not worship other gods. And let me tell you, there's some obvious reasons for that, right? There's some obvious reasons. First reason is the first words of the covenant. The first words. You see, brethren, one of the things, my ignorance, I've come to learn in the books of Moses, the original titles of the books of Moses are represented by the first sentence of the book. So that Barashith means in the beginning, and that's the first words of the book of Genesis, in the beginning, right? Deuteronomy, these be the words. Adabarim, that means the words. Okay, so those are original, okay? In the first words of the covenant, thou shalt have no other gods. No other gods is the first words of the covenant. No other gods. He's talking to Israel. I want to tell you something. He did not give this covenant to the Gentiles. Because the covenant is not just a set of laws. It's an agreement between the Creator and whoever people he's entering into covenant with. He did not give this covenant to Babylonians. He did not give it to Mizraim or any of the Hamites. He didn't give it to the children of Yafet. He didn't even give it to all of Shem's children. He gave it to Eber's children. Starting with Abraham, he said, I'm gonna make covenant with you, Abraham. And then your children after you, Isaac, and then Jacob, and then Jacob's children. Okay. Prior to the flood, he made the covenant with Noah. Okay. And before that, he started it with Adam and then Seth. And then after the flood, it was Abraham. Abraham. Then Abraham's child, the promised seed, Isaac. He had other children, but it was Isaac. And that he said, in Isaac, that seed's going to be called, ecclesia. Then Israel as a nation. Bible tells us that. So he tells us no other gods. All the other gods are false, he said. He said that. He the only true God. And the sign of us worshiping the only true God is we enter into the covenant with him through the blood of Messiah. We enter into the covenant. Heathen don't understand that. They can talk about Christianity and new covenant and whatever other garbage they want to talk about. And no law, that's them. That's their gods. With us, The covenant that Yah made with us and our fathers on Mount Sinai is eternal covenant. Eternal covenant. What Messiah did with the Hebrew, he was there with Hebrew disciples on the night they call communion, and he communed with them. What did he do? He passed the wine and he said, this is the blood of the new covenant. The renewed covenant between Father and his chosen. Okay. The reason for that is when you worship another God, there is no depth. That's why the earth is called, the grave on the earth is called, among other things, the bottomless pit. There is no depth. There is no bottom to it. You think it's dark, it can always get darker. Okay? Our Satan is having people do things behind the scenes, brethren. I don't even want to know. And if I did, I wouldn't show you. You understand? And I tell people it's like this. I have 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls. And I always taught my girls to keep themselves pure. I told them to keep themselves pure from when they was little. And I said, when you get older, you're going to be with a man, and the man's going to be your husband, and you are for him and he is for you. Keep yourselves pure. Guard your purity. Guard your virginity against being defiled by these people that don't care nothing about you but your body. I would teach my girls that. Okay? I would teach them that. But today, the way people acting with their children, y'all know, it's on another level of nuts, man. In the United States, they still sacrifice children. You know what it's called? Abortion. You know, it's called abortion. And all the noise of these Caucasian Republicans out here talking about right to life. See, what they trying to do, Margaret Sanger, look it up. Margaret Sanger created Planned Parenthood. That was a woman named, a European woman named Margaret Sanger. And the purpose of Planned Parenthood was to reduce the black population. Look it up for yourself. I'm not lying to you. That was the purpose of Planned Parenthood, to reduce the population of black people in the United States. To have black people killing their babies. So when you hear these people, these Christian people talking about right to life and sanctity of life, they're really talking about Caucasian babies. They're not talking about black babies. They don't care about that. They don't. They caring that their own people is killing their babies because it's coming back on their own head. That's the truth about it. And I'm not trying to be racist about it. I'm just trying to tell you what? The truth. What am I saying? The truth. Okay? In the Bible, where the children of Israel started practicing this nasty stuff, it was called the Valley of Hinnom. It was in the valley, they call it the Valley of the Son of Hinnom, where they started sacrificing and eating children to the god Molech. And the children of Israel, the last righteous king of the children of Israel, the last one, the last righteous king, of course, in Judah, his name was Josiah. He was the last righteous king in Judah. The last one. Haven't been one after him. The next righteous king to reign in Judah is going to be David, and he's going to be raised from the dead. But there's been no righteous king after that. Josiah was the last one. Okay? And so let's go to chapter 22. 2 Kings chapter 22. We're really going to go from chapter 22 into chapter 23. So we got a lot to go through. So let's get to it. Chapter 22 of 2 Kings chapter 22, beginning at verse 1. We got a lot to go through today. But I want to tell you right now, they found, just to give you a prelude, it was found that cannibalism was practiced in Liberia and in Ghana for ritual sacrifices. and in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and in Papua New Guinea, in places on the continent of Australia, in Asia, China, Korea. Cannibalism is practiced all over the earth. But we're concerned with cannibalism being practiced in Israel. That's our business. Okay, that's our business. And y'all know the history of Liberia. Liberia was a nation that was founded by former slaves. Former slaves came from the United States and came to Liberia. Okay, Liberia was founded by Hebrews that came from the United States from slavery into Liberia. Now it's been, of course, exploited by the West continually, even from its beginning. Liberia has been exploited by the Western powers. It's not like they've been on their own. No, they've been propagated, exploited, just like a whole bunch of other countries. Regime change, wars, and all of that in Liberia. But they found that cannibalism was practiced there. I don't think it's still practiced there. It's like in Ghana, where in Ghana, the witchcraft ritual that they do today, they do with a deer instead of with a person. But ancient times, it was with a person. But today, they do it with a deer. You'll see they practice a ritual, the killing of a deer, sacrifice for the ritual in Ghana. But it's today, it's a deer, but it used to be a person. Okay. 2 Kings chapter 22, beginning at verse 1. Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 31 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Jedidah, the daughter of Adaiah of Boscath. And he did that which was right in the sight of Yahweh, and walked in all the way of David his father, and turned not aside to the right hand or to the left. And it came to pass in the 18th year of the reign of King Josiah that the king sent Shaphan, the son of Azaliah, the son of Meshullam, the scribe, to the house of Yahweh, saying, Go up to Hilkiah, the high priest, that he may sum the silver which is brought into the house of Yahweh, which the keepers of the door have gathered of the people, and let them deliver it unto the hand of the doers of the work that have oversight of the house of Yahweh, and let them give it to the doers of the work which is in the house of Yahweh to repair the breaches of the house. So he collected money because at his kingdom, the house of Yahweh, which was Solomon's temple, had been used for all types of rituals, homosexual rituals, the worship of animals, the worship of the sun, everything except the worship of Yah. Okay. And they had messed it up. And then they closed it up and let it just sit because nobody was worshiping Yahweh no more. But then Josiah came and you saw he started restoring. He wanted to restore the worship of Yahweh, restore the worship of the only true God and of the Most High Yah, and restore the temple that he had set up for his name to be there. So he collected money, and he had people that was going to start fixing it up, restoring it so that they can start using it again. Okay. Let's go from verse 6. Unto carpenters and builders and masons to buy timber and hewn stone to repair the house. Howbeit, there was no reckoning made with them of the money that was delivered unto their hand, because they dealt faithfully. And Hilkiah the high priest said unto Shaphan the scribe, watch this. I have found the book of the law in the house of Yahweh. And Hilkiah gave the book to Shaphan, and he read it. The book of the law is the book of Deuteronomy. That's the book of Deuteronomy, the book of the law. And so they found the book of Deuteronomy in the temple. It was in there buried somewhere. They hadn't read it. They hadn't seen it. Now remember, if you look at Deuteronomy, it says in there, if you ever have a king, if you ever decide that you want a king, write a copy of this book of the law and read it before him so that he may obey the law and he may lead the people in obedience. That was the admonition given to our fathers when before they even got in the land. And Moses' last day on earth, he said, make sure that whatever king you choose, you write out a copy of this book and read it before him so he knows it. Okay. So they found it in the temple and they read it. And Shaphan and the scribe came to the king and brought the king word again and said, thy servants have gathered the money that was found in the house and have delivered it into the hand of them that do the work and have oversight over the house. And Shaphan the scribe showed the king, saying, Hilkiah the priest hath delivered me a book. And Shaphan read it before the king. So now they find the book of Deuteronomy. These be the words. And they're reading the book of Deuteronomy to Josiah the king. It's probably the first time he's ever read it. Okay, here we go. Verse 11. And it came to pass when the king had heard the words of the book of the law that he rent his clothes. In Israel, when a man rips his clothes, it's for sorrow. It's for sighing. It's for sadness. He ripped his clothes because he can see that the nation was far from what Most High gave Moses. And these be the words. Okay. Verse 11. And it came to pass when the king had heard the words of the book of the law that he rent his clothes. And the king commanded Hilkiah the priest and Ahikam the son of Shaphan and Arbor the son of Micaiah and Shaphan the scribe and Asaiah a servant of the king, saying, Go ye, inquire of Yahweh for me and for the people and for all Judah concerning the words of this book that is found. For great is the wrath of Yahweh that is kindled against us, because our fathers have not hearkened unto the words of this book to do it according to all that is written concerning us. Now, notice his words, brethren. Notice his words. First, he says, go inquire of me. Why did he say? Because at that time in Israel, there was always supposed to be prophets. But where there was no spirit of the Most High, there was no prophets. So there was no man there. Whenever Israel was faithful, there were men rise up as prophets. And whenever they were this way, he would rise up prophets like Jeremiah to speak to them. But they were in apostasy. There was no man. So they're going to end up going to a woman prophet because there was no man. Okay. Number one. Number two, he knew that the wrath was great. You read Deuteronomy 28. You see what it says? When they got to that part, he ripped his clothes because he knew they was in trouble. And I want you to also notice, he said, because what he said? He said, because our fathers. See, in our current society, there is no reckoning for the work of the people's fathers. In other words, you see some people marching up and down the United States talking about how this is their land. And they don't know their fathers raped, killed, and murdered the Indians that were here. They don't want to talk about that. They only want to bring that up when they march and say, this is our land, this is our laws. There's no reckoning of the history of your fathers. Part of our awakening, brethren, is us recognizing our fathers. For good and for bad. Recognizing who we are as Israelite people of the bloodline of Isaac and Jacob, because our slavery shows us who we are, and recognizing why we were slavery, because of the sins of our fathers. Okay. And in the modern world, there's no reckoning of people's fathers or their history or what their peoples did or where they are. Everybody don't want to look at that. They want to gloss over it as if it's, we don't want to deal with that. Oh, we don't know that. Our people wasn't that bad. That's not repentance. And that's part of the reason why this nation is going to be destroyed and majority of people in it. That's part of the reason. There's a lack of true repentance. There's a lack of a reckoning with your past. Not just talking about your past from when you were born, your fathers, your history, where you from, what they do, how they get there. The thing about the true Israelites, until now, we had no history. We had no history. The only people on the planet Earth with no history is the so-called African American. He's the only one. He's the only people on the earth with no history. You ask anybody from any other place here, they could tell you their history. But you ask the so-called African American born and raised in this United States of America, he can't tell you anything about his history. He don't know nothing about it. Completely ignorant. All he knows is that sometime long ago, they were brought someplace in Africa. He don't know who, what nation, what language it was, or nothing. Okay? Until we read the word of the Most High, and it shows us our history. And we read the word of the Most High, and for most of us that are awakened, what caused us to be awakened is because we feeling that lash of the wrath. And we wondered why, until we saw the curses. And we see that the curses fit us like a glove. That's how we started to know who we were. Okay? Don't know our names. Our names been changed. See, again, people don't look at history, their own history. See, they might go back. Some people might go back to the 1800s or say, oh, my family goes back. I have people tell me my family goes back to Jamestown. We've been here since, 16 something. But the Bible don't deal with no 200 or 300 years. 200 or 300 years in the Bible is no time at all. I mean, no time. The Bible deals with thousands of years. Thousands of years. Okay, thousands. You got to go back thousands of years. Now, it doesn't deal with millions of years, and some people have a hard time reconciling. If we think the earth is millions of years old, how come the Bible only deals with a short time? I always tell them like this. I don't know how old the earth is, but I do know that the most important period of Earth's history is 6,000 years. That's what I know. That the Most High deals with a 6,000 year period. And for me, that's the most important history. For you, that's the most important history. That's the history that matters to us. The 6,000 years that's recorded in this book. Okay? It's actually 7 because it records all the way through the 1,000 years of the kingdom. Okay? So that history is that's the pertinent history for us. To find out everything we need to know is in that 7,000 years. Okay? And so we now are understanding our history. And our enemies don't want us to do it. And they're trying to deny us our history. Our enemies trying to do that. Oh, y'all ain't no Israelites. Or you don't know what you're talking about. Blah, blah, blah. They're trying to deny our history. But the Bible tells us plainly what our history is. And so Josiah said, our fathers have not hearkened to the words of this book. That's what he said. 2 Kings chapter 22, verse 14. So Hilkiah the priest, and Ahikam, and Akbor, and Shaphan, and Ashaiah went unto Huldah the prophetess, the wife of Shallum, the son of Tikvah, the son of Haris, the keeper of the wardrobe. Now she dwelt in Jerusalem in the college, and they communed with her. And she said unto them, thus saith Yahweh, Most High of Israel, tell the man that sent you to me. Thus saith Yahweh, behold, I will bring evil upon this place and upon the inhabitants thereof, even all the words of the book which the king of Judah hath read, because they have forsaken me and have burned incense unto other gods, that they might provoke me to anger with all the works of their hands. Therefore my wrath shall be kindled against this place and shall not be quenched. Now, again, I want to focus on this. He said, because they did what? They burned incense to other gods. We're not worshiping me. Again, the focus here I want to make sure we understand is, since we are the only people the Creator showed himself to, it is his desire that we, as his only true people, be the agents, be the conduit, be the teachers, so that the earth can know who he is. He said, the heathen shall know me when I am sanctified, he says, in you, my Israelite people. Okay, the heathen will begin to know who Yah is as they see Yah sanctify himself in us. It ain't gonna happen no other way. Okay, because that's how he ordained it. And that's why the punishment upon us is strong, y'all. It's strong because he don't have no other people that he's chosen. He's not choosing nobody else. His word is forever. He doesn't change his word. And so when he told Abraham, your seed is going to be blessing all over the earth. Your seed, the whole earth's going to know. Indeed, shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Now, Paul points it out and said, well, he's talking about Messiah. Yes, he's talking about Messiah, but Messiah represents, as Paul also said, the nation of Israel. Came to seek and to save that which was lost, the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Because why? The whole earth must receive the truth from the Israelites. Because the Father has not revealed himself to any other people. There's no German Messiah. There's no Polish Messiah. There's no Egyptian Messiah. He might look like an Egyptian, but he's a Hebrew. Okay, it's a Hebrew Messiah, and it intends that he should show his Father's glory through his people to the earth. And that's why this awakening is now happening. That's why we at where we are right now. Okay, so here he said, "My wrath's not going to be quenched against you. You know, I'm going to punish y'all hard. Y'all should know better." Okay, verse 18. "But to the king of Judah, which sent you to inquire of Yahweh, thus shall ye say to him, Thus saith Yahweh Most High of Israel, as touching the words which thou hast heard, because thine heart was tender, and thou hast humbled thyself before Yahweh, when thou heardest what I spake against this place, against the inhabitants thereof, that they should become a desolation and a curse, and hast rent thy clothes and wept sore before me. I also have heard thee, saith Yahweh. Behold, therefore I will gather thee unto thy fathers, and thou shalt be gathered unto thy grave in peace, and thy eyes shall not see all the evil which I will bring upon this place." And they brought the king's word again. So now they give Josiah this blessing, and they say, "Look, it's not going to happen during your time. I'll give you peace." Because why? Because you humbled yourself before the Most High. You humbled yourself, and you were repentant in spirit for your sins and the sins of your father. Because you did that, I'm gonna bless you. I'm gonna take care of it after you die. But Josiah was determined to bring repentance, to bring reform to the nation. As the king, he was determined. And so chapter 23, beginning at verse 1, "And the king sent, and they gathered unto him all the elders of Judah and of Jerusalem. And the king went up into the house of Yahweh, and all the men of Judah and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem with him, and the priests and the prophets and all the people, both small and great. And he read in their ears all the words of the book of the covenant, which was found in the house of Yahweh." So he read the same Deuteronomy to all the people. "And the king stood up by a pillar and made a covenant before Yahweh, to walk after Yahweh and to keep his commandments and his testimonies and his statutes with all their heart and with all their soul, to perform the words of this covenant that were written in the book." And all the people stood to the covenant. So they made a what? A new covenant. What is it? A new covenant. They renewed the covenant with Yah, right? With this king, right? This anointed man from Judah. All the people stood to the covenant. Verse 4, "And the king commanded Hilkiah the priest and the priests of the second order and the keepers of the door to bring forth out of the temple of Yahweh all the vessels that were made for Baal." See, they had made all these vessels for the various different gods, and they put them in Solomon's temple. Solomon was one of the leaders in doing it. Okay, they had Baal in there, the worship of the sun god. They had the worship of women, Ashtoreth, in there. They had homosexual groves there. Everything was in. See, there's no depth. When you leave the true God, it's a bottomless pit, y'all. It's a bottomless pit. There's no depth. You don't even know how low the devil will drag you. Okay, why does he do that? First of all, the devil's demented. And second of all, he hates humans. Why does he hate humans? Because Father Yah, who he opposes, created humans. Okay, he wants to deface completely and annihilate any image of Yah. So he wants to degrade human beings. This is what pornography is all about. People try to say, well, pornography is just, people making love. No, it's not. No, it's not. You're supposed to make love to your spouse in private with the doors closed. It's not supposed to be for everybody to watch you. It's degrading what they're doing to each other in these movies. I've seen them. I used to be hooked on this stuff, so I know what's in it. And it's degrading to men and it's degrading to women. It's basically making us like dogs. Dogs have sex in the street. Dogs have sex in the street. Don't they? All a dog needs to see is another dog, and that dog will have them dogs will have sex right in front of you in the street. That's pornography. That's what it is. Okay, that's what it is. The devil trying to bring us to the level of dogs. And I don't even want to get into the pedophilia and the child stuff. Nah, that's not even right. Mm-mm. You understand? He wants to degrade human beings. That's the whole point of it. It's degradation of man from the nobleness that the Father created us. When Adam was created, he was noble. He was kingly. And Eve was queenly. And they were in harmony with everything on the planet. But his goal was to degrade them. And it's been what he's been doing ever since. By promising them they could be their own gods, he degrades us. That's what it is, degradation. Okay, it's degradation. Let's continue. Verse 4 of 2 Kings chapter 23. And the king commanded Hilkiah the priest, and the priest of the second order, and the priest of the door, to bring forth out of the temple of Yahweh all the vessels that were made for Baal, and for the grove, and for all the host of heaven. He burned them without Jerusalem in the fields of Kidron, and carried the ashes of them to Baal. And he put down the idolatrous priests, whom the kings of Judah had ordained to burn incense in the high places in the cities of Judah, and in the places round about Jerusalem. Them also he burned incense unto Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the planets, and to all the host of heaven. And he brought out the grove. That's the grove. The grove is the homosexual. That's for the sodomites. And he brought out the grove from the house of Yahweh without Jerusalem unto the brook of Kidron, and burned it in the brook of Kidron, and stamped it small to powder, and cast the powder thereof upon the graves of the children of the people. And he, watch this, and he brake down the houses of the sodomites. They had built houses around the temple. That's houses of prostitution, sodomite prostitution. It's homosexual prostitution. That were by the house of Yahweh, where women wove hangings for the grove. And he brought all the priests out of the cities of Judah, and defiled the high places where the priests had burned incense from Geba unto Beersheba, and break down the high places of the gates that were in the entering in of the gate of Joshua, the governor of the city, which were on the man's left hand at the gate of the city. Nevertheless, the priests of the high places came not up to the altar of Yahweh in Jerusalem, but they did eat of the unleavened bread among their brethren. And he defiled Topheth. Here he is. This is where we come from right here. Verse 10. And he defiled Topheth, which is in the valley of the children of Hinnom, that no man might make his son or his daughter to pass through the fire to Molech. Molech is the god that sacrifices and eats humans. They were doing that. Josiah was doing some serious reform. He was casting out, destroying all of anything that was regarding a false god, a false deity, or whatever. He was destroying, breaking down the sodomites' houses, all of that. Now, I want to speak a second on homosexuality. I've talked about it before, and I want to talk about it now, just so you have an understanding. The Bible obviously speaks against sodomy. Okay? Speaks against sodomy. Now, sodomy is a learned act. No boy grows up saying, I want to stick my penis in somebody's butt or have somebody stick theirs in mine. They don't do that. They might have an affinity toward the same sex. That does happen from birth. There are people that are born that have an affinity toward the same sex. And there are women that are born that have an affinity toward the same sex. There's some people born like that. Now, I did mention there's a lot of people that are in that state as a result of child molestation also. That is also the case. But there are some people we cannot deny that are born with those tendencies. So somebody might ask, well, why are they born? And somebody puts it like this. Listen, have you ever heard this? Why did God make them that way? Why did God make them that way? Have you ever heard that? Why did God make them that way? You ever heard that? Here's the truth. The Most High did not make people that way. He did not. The Most High made Adam and Eve, and he made them in his own image. Sin, disobedience to the Father, inviting Satan to take over the earth, has defiled the gene pool. Did you hear what I said? Before Adam and Eve sinned, you didn't have worry or fear. but now you got worry and fear. Before they sinned, there was no blindness, but now you got blindness. There was no death, but now you got death. There was no deformity, but now you got deformity. You understand? Now, there's people being born with all kinds of problems. Some people born physical problems, some people born mental problems, all kinds of issues people are being born with because the gene pool has been defiled. It's been ruined for all of us, okay? So in this case of the person that's born with the affinity toward the same sex, it's part of the whole gene pool that's jacked up. That's sin. It's not their fault they were born that way. So somebody might ask, well, what are they supposed to do about that? What are they supposed to do? What did Messiah say? Messiah spoke on it. People don't want to acknowledge that he spoke on it, but he spoke on it. What did he say? Messiah said, there are people that are born eunuchs from the womb. He said there are people that make themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. He said there are people that are made eunuchs of men. What is a eunuch? Look it up. A eunuch is a person that's unmarried and is incapable of normal sexual relations. Now, when he says some people are born that way, some people are born incapable of normal sexual relations. Then he said some people become eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. In other words, because they're not able to have normal sex because just who they are, how they are born, they don't have sex with anybody for the kingdom of heaven's sake. And then we know, like Daniel, there are people that are made eunuchs. In other words, they cut your gonads off and they have you do the king's business. In ancient times, they did that. In fact, when Muslims would take Hebrews into slavery, okay, we talk about the transatlantic slave trade. Nobody talk about trans-Sahara slave trade, which is still going on. When they take Hebrews into slavery, they would castrate them and then rape their women. At least when the transatlantic slave trade, they let us procreate, though they steal our babies or kill them or something, but they let us procreate. The Muslims didn't even do that. They make you go in there. They cut you off, man, made you a eunuch. So you couldn't have no children. So the Messiah's answer to the people that, and I'm only talking about people that want to serve Yah. I'm not talking about everybody, because everybody wants to serve Yah, whether they're homosexual or not. That's their business. But for those that want to serve the truth, don't have sex with anybody. If you can't have sex normally with a woman, if you're a man, or you can't have sex normally with a man, if you're a woman, don't have sex with anybody. If you want to do what the Most High tells you to do, for he surely is not about men putting their penis in the behind of other men and women licking up the private parts of other women. He's not about that. So if you want to serve him, remain single. That's what he's saying. Remain celibate, remain single for the kingdom of heaven's sake. That's the answer. He's not denying it happens because he said you could be born that way. But he's definitely not into sodomy. That's not him. Okay? That's a learned behavior. That's a learned behavior. Okay? Just like when a child is born, a little baby does not normally hate other people because of the color of their skin. That's not natural in a child. A child doesn't grow up saying, I hate black people, or a black child doesn't grow up saying, I hate white people. That's got to be taught. That's got to be taught. Okay? That's got to be taught. And that's how they grow up learning that stuff. So is sodomy. Sodomy is taught. Okay? Sodomy is taught. And so here, he puts away the sodomites. Okay? You don't deal with that right here. 2 Kings chapter 23. And then he tells you, he destroyed the place in the valley of the children of Hinnom, because that's where they made the human sacrifice and ate the children. Okay? These are the results of false gods. There's only one true God. He is power, he is light, he is righteousness. Opposite of him is darkness and lies. And when you go on that side, your mind can't even conceive of how far that devil will take you, how far down he will take you. The things going on this planet in the dark, the Most High sees it. He sees it all. And that's why he's going to bring destruction to the place. He's going to bring destruction. You know, lots of times, like I grew up in a normal neighborhood. It was all black neighborhood. It was normal. Back in the 60s and 70s, you could be poor or middle class and everybody was fine. Nobody had a problem. It's because there was no drugs in the neighborhood. There was no, you know, it wasn't no crime and stuff. People just doing what they had to do, right? And then they started pouring crack and stuff in there and messed it all up. But before they did that, I remember what it was like. It was no problem, you know, not having a lot. You had your food to eat. All the neighbors was your parents, right? If I did something wrong, Mrs. So-and-so would beat my behind and then tell my father. And I was really in trouble. So that was where it was, right? And I didn't even realize, like, there was one family where one of the girls in the family, the daughter, the sister, didn't come to school for a whole year. And I thought she was sick. I didn't know until many years later her father had molested her, got her pregnant. And it was just a normal house. He was going to work every day and coming home. You say, hi, Mr. So-and-so, and hi. And you didn't even know he was molesting his daughter and getting her pregnant. Okay. And I heard since multiple situations like that in regular homes. And now with the internet, man, it's even worse, man. People watching things and coming there practicing on their children, man. This earth is dark, y'all. I'm just trying to tell you what? The truth. That's all. That's all. Jeremiah chapter 19. Jeremiah chapter 19. And everything I told you is in this book. Everything. Because why? Because it's the truth. That's why. Because it's the truth. Okay. Jeremiah chapter 19. Jeremiah chapter 19. Talking about that potter's vessel again, like we started last night. Jeremiah chapter 19, beginning at verse 1. Thus saith Yahweh, go and get a potter's earthen bottle, and take it to the ancients of the people, and of the ancients of the priests. And go forth unto the valley of the son of Hinnom. See now, when you hear the valley of the son of Hinnom, you already know now what we're dealing with. Valley of the son of Hinnom, that's where they sacrificed to Molech. So he said, don't take an earthen vessel and go to the valley of the son of Hinnom. And I want you to take the old men, the old ancients of the people, and the ancients of the priests. I want to show you that. Okay. Verse 2. And go forth unto the valley of the son of Hinnom, which is in the entry of the east gate, and proclaim there the words that I shall tell thee, and say, hear ye the word of Yahweh, O kings of Judah and inhabitants of Jerusalem. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the Most High of Israel, behold, I will bring evil upon this place, that whatsoever heareth his ears shall tingle, because they have forsaken me and have estranged this place, and have burnt incense in it unto other gods, whom neither they nor their fathers have known, nor the kings of Judah, and have filled this place with the blood of innocents. See, the blood of innocents, that's children. Okay, that's the blood of innocents, that's children. Okay, so we're dealing with where they sacrifice children, they would eat the flesh. And let me tell you something else. You think when they abort babies in Planned Parenthood, they just throw them away? I don't even want to talk about it, but no, they don't throw them away. Okay, they don't. Okay, so yo, I don't even know how many millions of babies have been murdered in the United States. I know the Caucasian people are more concerned with their white babies because their populations are dwindling. But babies, man, black babies, white babies. China was doing that, you know, because they limited the family to one child at one time. They did it so much in China that their population is now dwindling, and the government's now trying to pay women to have more than one child, and they can't do it. Let me tell you something else. What people don't understand is that the Most High had always had more females on the planet than males. And it makes sense that he would do that. He would have most populations have more females than males. And the reason is, like, let's say you had 10 men and one woman, right? Let's say you had 10 men and one woman. That only one woman could get pregnant once for 9 months at a time, right? She could only get pregnant by one of those guys once, right? If you wanted to create a nation. But if you had 10 women and one man could get all 10 of the women pregnant. You see what I'm saying? So I'm talking about if you're populating the earth, you're going to have more women. That's why you see when Adam's sons went and married women, they were already baby women. Eve was having a lot of girls. She had a lot of girls. That's why when she had a boy, she said, "Oh, I've gotten a man from your house," because she had a lot of girls. She was looking for the firstborn son. Okay? She's looking for the son. So there were a lot of girls always. That's why he could go and have wives, 2 wives, because there's a lot of women on the earth. And now, if you start to look at society now, because of the abortion situation and because of the lack of fertility, you're starting to see the female population in some countries either decline to the point where it's even with males or there's more males. There's some societies on the earth where there's now more males than females. You finished at that point. You done. Because the women can only have but so many babies. That means you're gonna have a lot of men die without having no children. And then when you add that to the homosexual, because the homosexual not having no child, right? The homosexual not having no babies. I mean, if they get their way, they're just going to die, with each other. That's it. So you're seeing the reduction of populations. That's not, the Most High is allowing that. Okay. And some people in the upper echelons of the earth want it that way. They want the earth to be depopulated. They think there's too many people. They think there's a run on the resources of the earth. So they feel like they got the money and power. They should live, and they should control who lives on earth and who dies. Okay, let's continue. Blood of innocence. Verse 5. They have built also high places of Baal to burn their sons with fire, and for burnt offerings unto Baal, which I commanded not, nor spake it, neither came it into my mind. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that this place shall no more be called Tophet, nor the valley of the son of Hinnom, but the valley of slaughter. And I will make void the counsel of Judah and Jerusalem in this place. And I will cause them to fall by the sword before their enemies, and by the hands of them that seek their lives. And their carcasses will I give to be meat for the fowls of the heaven and for the beasts of the earth. And I will make this city desolate and in hissing. Everyone that passes thereby shall be astonished and hiss because of all the plagues thereof. And I will cause them to eat the flesh of their sons and the flesh of their daughters. He said, I will cause it to happen. That's why you hear about it in Liberia, Ghana, Democratic Republic of Congo. That's why you hear about it in Australia, the Aborigines. That's why you hear about it in Papua New Guinea. I will cause them to eat the flesh of their sons and the flesh of their daughters. And they shall eat every one the flesh of his friend in the siege and the straightness wherewith their enemies, and they that seek their lives shall straighten them. Then shalt thou break the bottle in the sight of the men that go with thee. So remember, he brought the earthen vessel. He brought the earthen vessel with him, and he brought it to the valley of the son of Hinnom, where they made those sacrifices. And he proclaimed these words, and he had the bottle now. And he said, now I want you to break the bottle in front of him, and shall say unto them, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, even so will I break this people and this city, as one breaketh the potter's vessel, that cannot be made whole again. They shall bury them in Tophet till there be no place to bury. So remember, he said, I'm going to break you like a potter's vessel. Now, that term, breaking like a potter's vessel, is used often in the Bible. It's used both, as you see here, against the children of Israel. But at the end in Babylon, it's used against the heathen. Again, let's take a look at it. See, the Most High, through the Messiah. This Messiah is important to us, man. Through Messiah, through the line of the tribe of Judah, he remakes us. That's what we call born again. He remakes us through Messiah, right? But the heathen that are against him, he's not remaking them. Only the repentant ones, right? Only repentant ones. Notice again, Revelation chapter 2. Revelation chapter 2. The church of Thyatira. beginning at verse 24. Revelation 2, beginning at verse 24. But unto you I say, and unto the rest of Thyatira, as many as have not this doctrine, which have not known the depths of Satan as they speak, I will put upon you none other burden. But that which ye have already hold fast till I come. He that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. The nations are the Gentiles. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron, as the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I have received of my Father. And I will give him the morning star. He that hath ears to hear, let him hear. See? So he said, I'm going to break them like a potter's vessel to shivers, he said, right? And he also says that that's also in Psalms. It's in the Psalms also. And so it's the same thing. See? So there you go. So that term is used, and he's using it here with our people. The difference between our people, though, and the heathen is he has ordained our people to be his people. And so he's doing that to us first. Remember, there's an order to the Jew first and also to the Greek, right? There's an order to the Jew first and also to the Greek. So for us first and everything, we receive the righteousness first, we receive the punishment first, we receive the redemption first, then them. That's how he's ordained. Okay. Jeremiah chapter 19. Back to Jeremiah chapter 19. Verse 12. Thus will I do. Well, let me start at verse 11 again. Thus shalt thou say unto them, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, even so will I break this people in this city, as one breaketh a potter's vessel that cannot be made whole again. And they shall bury them in Tophet, till there be no place to bury. Thus will I do unto this place, saith Yahweh, and to the inhabitants thereof, even to make this city as Tophet, and the houses of Jerusalem and the houses of the king of Judah shall be defiled as the place of Tophet, because all the houses upon whose roofs they have burned incense unto the host of heaven and have poured out drink offerings unto other gods. Then came Jeremiah from Tophet, where the Yahweh had sent him to prophecy. And he stood in the court of Yahweh's house and said to all the people, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the Most High of Israel, behold, I will bring upon this city and upon all her towns all the evil that I have pronounced against it, because they have hardened their necks, that they might not hear my words. Cannibalism in Israel. It was also spoken, not just here, and you want other witnesses. It was not just spoken here. It was spoken in Deuteronomy chapter 28 as well. Deuteronomy chapter 20 talks about it as well. I believe Ezekiel talks about it as well. And so it's not just here. It's other places where he says this was going to happen because of the sins of our fathers, because what we did. So, brethren, as part of our repentance, we know now where we're coming from. You see what I'm saying? You know where we're from. We know who we are. We know how we got here and why we got here. And we also know how we're getting out. It's all prophesied in the word of the Most High. And we praise him for the mercy and grace that he's shown us. Because we don't deserve that. If you see what our fathers did, we don't deserve that. Okay, we don't deserve that. But because of his mercy and grace toward us, he's awakening us because of his promise. He said, I don't do it for your sakes. Remember we read that in Ezekiel 36? He said, I don't do it for your sakes, but for my holy name's sake. He said, I'm going to be sanctified in you before the heathen. Praise the Most High Yahweh. So, yeah, that was Jeremiah 19. That was a hard one. I ain't going to front. That was a hard one, man. That was a hard one to read because of our history. But, you know, like I said, what we doing? We following what? Truth. It's got to be truth all the way. Not always going to be pleasant. Matter of fact, lots of times it's not going to be, but it's going to be peaceful to us. Okay. Praise the Most High Yahweh. So now we'll come back after the break. For those that can make it, we'll do chapter 20 of Jeremiah after the break. We'll do it then. Praise the Most High Yahweh. If you can't make it, it's all good. May the Most High bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May Yahweh lift up his countenance upon you and upon your household and give you peace. Shalom.